Good day. This is meteorologist Kyle Gollegly from the 24/7 Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center. Time's about 3 a.m. GMT on the 13th of March, 2023, and this is a brief overview of current and forecast conditions in the North Atlantic Basin for the coming days. Taking a look at the latest surface analysis here from the Ocean Prediction Center, we see a complex storm here to the west of the British Isles, which we are forecast to move off to the north and east across Western Europe over the next couple days, as we'll see in a moment. We have this deepening storm here well to the south of the Canadian Maritimes and northeast of Bermuda, which is expected to lift off to the northeast over the next 48 hours or so. And farther here to the west, we have what will be a developing system here off the southeast coast of the United States, which is expected to move off the coast and up toward the Gulf of Maine over the next day or two before continuing off to the east. Again, we'll see that in just a moment. First, the latest iceberg information here from the North American Ice Service. These icebergs have really begun to move south, aided by persistent northeasterly flow in this part of the world over the last several days. We see that there are several icebergs out here with a lower iceberg limit approaching 45 degrees north latitude at this time. We would anticipate perhaps a bit more southward progress over the next couple of days with that northeasterly flow still persisting. But this is something to definitely keep an eye on, something that will definitely have an impact on shipping interests, especially to and from the Gulf of St. Lawrence or into ports here in Newfoundland, requiring a deviation in the route, weather outstanding, down to the south to maintain safe berth with respect to these iceberg limits. Now let's take a look at the latest run of the GFS model from our in-house product. We'll start here in the east. Here is that storm here off to the west of the British Isles. As we go forward over the next 24 hours, we see that storm weakening into a gale as it moves into the North Sea. But this will bring a broad area of strong gale force conditions as well as high seas outside of the English Channel and into the Bay of Biscay over the next 24 hours or so. As we go into Tuesday, as that system continues off to the northeast towards Scandinavia, we see conditions rapidly improving through the day on Tuesday. This is Wednesday the 15th at 0Z with much more lighter conditions. But that will be short-lived as the next system, this is a system that's south of the Maritimes presently. As we go later in this week, the system begins to approach the northeastern Atlantic, which will bring a renewed threat for potential gale force conditions, as well as enhanced seas in the northeast Atlantic by later in the week and into the weekend. We'll go back to present and focus in on that storm that I just mentioned. As we go forward here, lifts off to the northeast, well east of the Grand Banks over the next 24 hours or so, but with a very large area of adverse conditions, gale force conditions extending down into the low 30s north latitude in the mid-ocean, and these persistent northeasterlies, like I mentioned on the last graph when I was showing the icebergs, will help to continue that southward movement of the icebergs in the next couple of days. Continuing forward, this is now Wednesday, the 15th at 0Z. We have a very strong storm here, the 970s pressure with a very high seas, potentially phenomenal seas, fully arisen sea here. It's on the western side of that system. And as we continue forward, as I mentioned just a few moments ago, that system is expected to broaden, weaken down into a gale as it continues off to the east into the northeast Atlantic by late in the week and into the beginning part of this weekend forthcoming. Lastly, as I mentioned, we're expecting a developing gale here off the outer banks of North Carolina the next 12 hours or so. This will continue off to the north and east. Off of Cape Cod here, expected by late Tuesday, early Wednesday. This likely could be a prolific snowmaker here for those of us in the northeast U.S., but maritime-wise, we see another area of very broad area of gale force conditions here off the much of the east coast of the United States by midweek. In this system, there is some uncertainty in the forecast guidance as to how quickly this system will begin to move off to the northeast away. This is now Thursday the 16th at 0Z, and you see the system here is still south of Sable Island with enhanced seas all the way down past Bermuda at that time. And as we go into Thursday night and Friday, the system's still moving very slowly um, off to the north and east, eventually clearing east of the Canadian Maritimes by late week, early weekend um, at that time. So a pattern very much more resemblance of midwinter as opposed to almost the beginning of spring, astronomical spring, which has been a persistent problem here the last week or two in the North Atlantic. At the end of next weekend, we see there are signs perhaps the pattern may begin to ease slightly, but that's highly subject to change and something that we'll be keeping a very close eye on here. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on LinkedIn to receive all the latest weather and routing news. Once again, this is meteorologist Kyle Gollegly from the Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center. Stay connected and safe.